Thank you so much for being with us today. We are so excited to have you with us because you've got a new film that's coming out for the Indian Film Festival, and you got to be excited to unveil this to the world, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people can see it. It's a hard film to see. It's a hard subject matter. So yes, I hope
Mhm.
people see it as much as they can.
Yeah, because the thing is, of course, there's a Shakespearean element to it, but there's also a little bit of folklore, and a dark ending, right?
Well, it is a true story. I mean, I thought for a time if I could do it like Brazil and just go once it gets dark, you just go, aha, now we take off. The guy went nuts. But I decided to just stay with how the story happened. And it's because of that. It just turns out that everything that you think is made up in the movie, like as you said, Shakespeare, that's actually how the events happen. Anything that you think is made up, actually how the events happen. And anything that you think might be not made up is just like we added one character. Otherwise, all the characters are pretty much just taken from reporters' stuff.
Yeah. Well, and then of course we don't want to ruin too much of it, but how exactly do you explain it to your friends and family or people that are gonna go see this at the festival?
Well, I tell them it's a true story. So
Yeah,
just count at it. As much as I'll say Romeo and Juliet, it's a pretty harsher end than what happened to
hmm
Romeo and Juliet. It is a true event, and I just thought that I was obsessed with a particular telephone conversation that happens at the end of the film, and I just said, if we make it, that's the ending of the film because the story actually got a lot darker after that. I stopped telling the story what happened 20 years ago, and then I kind of stopped at it, but actually it went much more funkier than that after. So I just tell them it's a true event and it unfortunately stuff like this happens all the time. I mean, they even have a name for it called honor killing, which is such a horrible name in the English translation. And if you show
yeah,
this to any reporters, I've been requesting all of them that please change it in English because the
mm,
West is so good at nomenclature. At, like when
yes,
you have to brand things and you just say, if a bomb falls next to a school, you can call it collateral damage and it looks more bearable. And on the other hand, there's this event of people murdering their children or their sisters because they marry outside the system. And it's called honor killing in English. I don't know who came up with that translation. Just change it.
yeah,
It doesn't translate. Now it's so bad that the East loves it. I mean, the people who are for it, they love using it, which is like
mm,
0.1% of the people. But they just think
right.
they have a leg to stand on, and they shouldn't. Hopefully, the
hmm
word murder should be in there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then of course you probably have a strong memory from every single set that you've been on. Is there a memory from the set where you're just kind of looking around and thinking, this is exactly how I pictured it in my mind?
Actually, the ending.
Mm,
I thought it was going to be different. I wanted a very, very long, complicated take just to and not actually be involved in a really harsh event, and I wanted to be away from it. But I thought it would be in the middle of fields, and then I actually
hmm
was obsessed in doing it in the real place where it happened. And when I went out there, it just didn't feel right. But
Yeah,
somehow that space made me think that it shouldn't be in a field. It happened in just like they'll call it well house. It's like you have a house in the village, and then there's an
yeah,
area where you have a well which is electronic and just gives water to everything. Usually, you go there to have lunch, or the men work and the women might bring food over. I'm talking about like 20, 30 years ago, and you bring the food
hmm
there that is usually called the working well, and they have like usually like a little shack next to it. Those have over time gotten bigger and bigger, and it was just that.
yeah,
That's where the event happened. So when that happened, I just said like it should be in something like that. And usually when you film, especially when you're going to be editing things, you don't feel the impact of, at least I don't feel the impact of things because I'm usually known for visual things. So in
hmm
your mind, you're kind of imagining this will look like this, but this looked exactly like how it looks in the film. So it's very disturbing to film, even though the
mm,
audio and all that is taken from a different take from the singer. It was very, and when it happened, I don't get floored. It just knocked me out. And I just said, like, call it a day. It was early in the morning. And I just said, everybody go home. We've just done something
mm,
absolutely profoundly disturbing. We can't top this. Let's just go home. So it's the
yeah.
ending. So it's about 18 minutes long. So go
Mm.
figure.
Yeah. Well, people have been looking up to you for years now and thinking like that's what I want to do. But of course, you make it look a whole lot easier than it actually is to pull off these kind of things. So what kind of advice do you give to people that want to follow in your footsteps and do what you do?
Oh, I don't know if you want to follow in my footsteps. I mean, one of me is enough. I don't know. I just got in the film world. I just got known for visual films, whereas in the ad world and I mean music videos also because by nature they are just by definition they tend to be visual. So I'm known for a
Mhm.
visual, fantastical stuff. Guy who does fantastical stuff. And I've done ads that are actually very grounded and very very real looking, but they're not something that once you do one for people, I mean, it's much easier for financiers to put you in a pigeonhole and say, oh, he did that. So maybe he won't screw it up this time. So all the same stuff keeps coming back. So I just say, if you're starting out, mix it up in the very beginning. You'll get a very long chance before you get to mix it up again because people love putting you in a pigeonhole.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, my co-host Drew Pearson is one of our great Dallas Cowboys and caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame. We're so proud of him. But he wanted me to make sure that I asked you today your Hail Mary moment, which is that moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for you?
You know what? The one person who made probably the biggest difference in my life is probably not even aware of it. There
Mm.
were 18 of us in India from Delhi University trying to get a visa to go abroad to study film. Out of the 18 people, I was the one who got the visa. Just randomly, the guy asking questions from 18 university students turned down 17, and I got it. So not I didn't even throw the Hail Mary. I think if there was one guy who changed my life completely, and I think the other guys were probably literature majors, they were a lot more smarter than me in making films. I was like doing commerce and everything, and I'm the only guy that ended up making movies. So I don't know if it was a Hail Mary. I didn't throw it, but somehow I caught it. It's just like it just got thrown, and so I think from that time when I came in America and I was studying in a city college, and I was like the happiest pig in shit. I was like, oh, I made it. I'm in America and I'm studying film, and people around me were like, you're an idiot. This is a city college. We got nothing, and I was like, I can take this card, this thing, the ID, and go to a library and get any movie I want. I can watch everything. It was just such a big thing for me. But for everybody else, you only compare it to what you grew up with. So they just thought like, no, I couldn't get into USC, I couldn't get UCLA, so I'm in city college with this loser. And I'm like, hey, this place is incredible. So for me, I had made it when I arrived in America. So after that, it's been downhill. I've done very well in films. I've done very well in everything else, but that was the big challenge.
Part of that is the success mindset that you have to have, and we talk about that on the show. Is there something that you tell yourself that kind of keeps you on the right path even when things are tough? Because as creative people, we're often very, very hard on ourselves.
No, if you it's a just if you've ever been a son in the Indian family, it's the worst thing. Your mom will just tell you that your shit looks like gold and smells like gold. So you've already made it just by being a boy. It's like how they need to encourage the girls is what they need to do. And now in the last 2, 3 decades, I can see that that's changing because even among the Iranians, they're realizing it's the girls who are taking care of the parents a lot more than the boys. So now, by the time I remember a friend of mine, Steve Burker, my Jewish friend, always goes like, when I met you, I thought you were like a prince and you had so much confidence. You had anything until I saw you in the car that you drove. It was like tied up with strings, and I was catching buses and bringing tea bags to school. I had no money. But he just said, like, why would you be so confident? And I was just saying, because I made it. I'm in fucking America studying film. So it's just relative. If I had a son, I don't think he would. I do have a son. I don't think he'd take it as such a big break that he got into city college.
Yeah. It's is there anything else you're looking forward to seeing at the Indian Film Festival? So it looks like a great lineup.
It is. I mean, like I've never been there. I mean, I've only been to. I mean, we took it out last year in Toronto where we won the platform, and they asked me if I
Yeah.
would come. I just said like I'd love to come out there because I have so many friends that want to see it. Apart from my director friends, who are only guys who actually saw it and gave me notes. Nobody's seen it, and I don't know if they ever will. So this is the perfect place. I better go and get some lots of tickets so I can invite the whole small Indian family of 50.
Well, it seems like there's going to be a lot to discuss afterwards with the film. I'm sure the Q&A is going to be really entertaining, and the reception as well.
I
But
hope so. I hope they keep it long. Usually those things are so short.
yeah.
They'll ask 3 questions. By the time I finish, they'll go, okay, let's go. And I'll be like, okay.
Well, what are you hoping that people will take away from this film or think about, or discuss afterwards? Because I know there's a lot.
Well, when they see the movie, they'll know what to discuss. It is
Yeah,
a bit harsh, and it's just something that needs to be, witnessed, like the Holocaust. It just you need people to see it, and not
yeah,
just push it under the carpet. So it's just something
yeah.
that's going on all the time, and it's just shouldn't be ignored.
Yes, good. And last thing, then, I know you're always working on a whole bunch of things and different projects at once. Is there anything else coming up that we should know about there, or have you already started working on the next one?
I am. There's a series that I'm prepping in Turkey right now that I want to do the full season. So I'll be doing a 10-hour piece. But right now here, we're waiting on an actor, and hopefully this week
Yeah.
we will know. But it's something that shoots in. It's called Men in White Coats. So it shoots in Montreal and Saudi, or it might be Ireland and Saudi. So we're just prepping that here and keeping our fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing the film and talking to you again very, very soon.
Okay, I see you then.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, bye bye.
Bye.